Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to Abnormal Voyages. My name is David, and today we find ourselves in Atlanta, Illinois. We happen to be on Route 66 today, and if you've ever traveled up or down the Mother Road, you may have noticed some giant statues. There actually happens to be one right behind me here, holding a hot dog. Now, this type of statue is called a Muffler Man. And I've never really known much about them. I know they look really cool, and a lot of people love them, but that's about as far as my knowledge goes. So today, I'm gonna dive in and find out more about these really great statues. We're gonna find out where they come from, what is the story behind them, and why is it that we don't see them today? So please, come tag along as we learn all about these American giants.
We're going to a place that you've never heard of before. It's Abnormal Voyages. You're gonna learn something new. We're gonna open new doors. It's Abnormal Voyages.
So, still staying right here in Atlanta, Illinois, it turns out there are a lot of other people interested in Muffler Men just like us. We happen to have found the site of what is soon to be a brand new museum. This is the American Giants Museum, and it is going to be dedicated to sharing with the world all about these friendly giants on Route 66. They've agreed to let us come in and learn a little bit more about Muffler Men. We are now inside, and I am joined by Mr. Bill Thomas, who happens to be the curator of the museum. Thank you for seeing us, sir.
My pleasure, David. Welcome to Atlanta.
Thank you. Just walking in, I was blown away. The outside of the building is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Like, this is fantastic. But I got a couple questions for you.
Sure.
So, first of all, what exactly is a Muffler Man?
A Muffler Man is a name that was given over time to the giant statues originally built by International Fiberglass Company. And it came about because many of the first ones that were built actually ended up in front of muffler shops, and they held car mufflers. So over time they gained the nickname Muffler Man.
So I notice a lot of them don't have mufflers anymore.
No.
Is that a common thing that they're just gone? Or?
It's a very common thing because this International Fiberglass began making giant roadside statues, etc., way back in the early 60s. And over time, yes, they were originally placed with muffler shops, but then muffler shops would close. There's still a 20-foot statue. It gets sent to somebody else, and they want to use it for a different purpose. So they have morphed quite a bit.
Now, so that's morphed. I've noticed a lot of Muffler Men look very similar, or at least the ones that are kind of, I guess, the more popular ones. Is there any basis for that where they all made the same in the beginning, or?
Right. There were originally a set of molds that were used by International Fiberglass. The very first giant that was made was a Paul Bunyan type giant, and he ended up at a cafe in Flagstaff, Arizona. But then they made maybe a couple other molds. So, it's much more efficient. Well, let's just make them all essentially the same, but then paint them differently. Show different clothes on them, put different things in their hands, and that way it's sort of economy of scale.
So it sounds like the manufacturing is a little easier that way, and then you just paint them to look different.
Very much so, yes. Especially with the fact that you could always put something different in this one's hands as opposed to that one.
Which is super cool. I know we saw the hot dog one out there.
Yes.
I love that they can change those out.
Yeah.
So, what made you guys want to make this museum? Where was the idea from? It's such genius.
Thank you. We appreciate that. It all stems from the town's overall effort to leverage Route 66 and the tourism opportunities it provides. So for the past 15, 20 years, we've just been playing the same tune, just a little differently with variations. Okay, what's the next thing we can do related to 66 that will bring people to town?
Sure.
Yeah, and when we came into contact with a person who's now turned into a good friend, Joel Baker, the nation's leading authority on these giants.
Oh, wow.
He planted the idea in our heads of a museum that would tell the story of International Fiberglass Company.
So he was kind of already into these and then came to you guys and was like, hey, I've got a great idea.
Into these is a very low-level way of saying what Joel is. Joel is absolutely passionate about these giants. So when I first met him a number of years ago, I believe it was in the very first conversation we ever had. He said, oh, I have all this stuff from International Fiberglass Company, giants, documents, photos, body parts. What I don't have is a museum. And I said, okay, Joel, one day. So one day happened last summer.
And here we are.
Here we are.
It's great hearing that he's got like the passion behind it, because I feel like something like this, you've got to have that.
Oh yes, it doesn't hurt at all. It absolutely helps. I have a passion for history and restoration and leveraging ideas like this to achieve economic development goals. So it's just a really nice alignment.
It sounds like it goes hand in hand,
yeah,
right?
It does.
Now, I know you said that it was like the town kind of came together. So this wasn't just Joel and you.
No.
There was an actual from the town of Atlanta?
No, yes, not at all. It's been a very much a partnership between, we have an organization in town called the Atlanta Betterment Fund organization that exists solely to help improve the quality of life in town, including supporting tourism efforts, our local businesses, etc. We worked with the city. Our organization helped write a grant for the city that it submitted to the state of Illinois. It received funds from the state. So between those funds from the city itself, and funds raised by the Atlanta Betterment Fund, plus all these donations from Joel Baker, this was produced.
Wow. And I think he told us he's still out there looking for more things every day to basically add here, right?
David, I got a call from him earlier this afternoon. He was super excited. He's based in Colorado, the state. He's originally from Illinois, but he was calling me from Georgia because somebody had found a giant out in the woods. And he let Joel know about it, and there he was on the spot, dragging this giant. He couldn't even get his car back to where the giant is.
Just trekking through the woods.
Yeah, he
like,
said,
there he is.
I've got another one, and it's a cowboy figure.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so he was very excited about that.
Oh, man, so gotta come back and see the cowboy when it's here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, does Joel head up the restorations on these as well?
He does not do the restoration work himself. He has a crew down in southern Illinois where he originally lived. There's still a shop down there. They're very active. They're restoring 2 giants that are on their way to Atlanta later this spring. And then there's also a firm out in Virginia run by a gentleman named Mark Klein, who has original International Fiberglass molds.
Oh, wow.
So between the folks in Southern Illinois and Mark out in Virginia, you can get an old one restored, or you can even get a brand new one if you want.
That's incredible. Those molds still exist.
Yes.
That's very cool. Now, I guess my last question, you mentioned International Fiberglass Company.
Mm-hmm.
Can it still be a Muffler Man if it's not made by them? Or is that kind of a brand specific?
No, that is very much a brand specific thing, and this may not surprise you. Because this building looks like a Texaco gas station, and because there are other giant roadside attraction figures out there that weren't made by International Fiberglass, I get contacted quite a bit. Oh, do you want this piece of Texaco memorabilia? Do you want this giant? And we have a collection policy here at the museum in order to keep it focused on the museum's purpose, to tell the story of International Fiberglass and its giants. So I unfortunately have to turn people down. No,
I'm sure that's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
that's cool stuff.
Yeah, fabulous stuff. But no, we really don't need that Texaco blimp. As much as I would love that Texaco blimp.
Maybe in your yard.
Yeah, maybe. No, so that's how you properly run a museum, is to make sure you know what your mission is and then stick to it.
Gotta have your standards there.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. I'd love to see a couple of things if you don't mind.
Okay, no.
All right, let's check it out.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I want you to know about the Texaco Big Friend, which was the largest giant International Fiberglass ever made. He was 24 feet tall, and we'll be getting one of the only 6 Texaco Big Friends that still remain here on site. We'll be previewing him, debuting him Memorial Day weekend.
So you said he was 24 feet tall?
Yes.
So that's going to be bigger than this building.
It will be 7 feet taller than this building.
Wow.
Yeah. So when you come down either north or south on Route 66, he'll be towering above everything else on this stretch of road.
So you said there's 6 remaining. How many were there?
The Texaco campaign started in the mid-1960s, put in an order with International Fiberglass for 300 of them.
Okay.
Long story short, when they rolled the campaign out, it was a logistical nightmare. The dealers, Texaco dealers, didn't like it. They kept falling over. They were hard to move from one gas station to the next. The public, some people didn't really like the fact that one would be put across the street. One woman wrote a kind of scathing letter. "You put him up, he looks right in my living room window." didn't like it at all. So Texaco actually pulled the plug on the campaign.
Okay.
And said, destroy all 300. 6 managed to slip through that destruction order and remain to this day, and we'll get one of those.
Wow.
Yeah.
Only 6.
Yeah, we're
that's
very, very
impressive.
fortunate.
Yeah.
Yes, very fortunate.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Now I've got to ask. As soon as I came in, I was blown away by this. I almost didn't see him at first. This awesome-looking tiger. What is the story? Because that's definitely not a Muffler Man, right?
No, it's not a Muffler Man, but it was one of the best marketing campaigns of any oil company in the early 1960s and the mid-60s. Esso Oil Company, which turned into Exxon, came up with this marketing idea of, our gasoline is so good, it's like putting a tiger in your tank. So what they did was they had these 7-foot-long fiberglass tigers made, and they positioned them on the top of their gas stations across the country.
Oh, I bet that stood out big time.
Oh, big time. And it was a wise move too, because they're really attractive things.
Yeah.
I think they had some on top of their gas pumps to begin with, but they got stolen.
I could see that.
Okay, because they're so much fun. So they put them on tops of their gas stations. So that's why our Esso Tiger sits up here, so he can be perched just like he originally was.
He fits perfect. It looks like he's just ready to leap down.
Yeah. He serves his purpose of attracting your attention.
I wish more places still did things like this.
Oh, I know. Those marketing campaigns were just so brilliant back in the 60s. Yeah, and this was a very popular one. Yeah.
Wow. Now, also looking up, I see this lovely face up here, very familiar. And I know that y'all have a big guy outside that looks just like this.
Yes. This is actually what's called a snerd, S-N-E-R-D, figurehead. He also was called a half-wit, and many people look at him and say, oh, that's the Alfred E. Newman character from Mad Magazine.
That's where I recognize him from, yeah.
He's not actually. He was modeled after a ventriloquist dummy from a comedian that was very popular back in the 30s and 40s, and that was the original name, Snerd. Okay? And then I don't know how Mad Magazine came into the picture, but yeah, it's a very common mistake because it does look so much like Alfred E. Newman.
He definitely stands out from the other Muffler Men, the ones that look like the Paul Bunyan and things like that.
Yeah.
Very unique looking.
Well, and because he has a hat, hardly any of the other giants have hats like this, and it's a very distinctive hat. So, yeah, he's a great character, and we're very fortunate to have that head. Yeah.
I love it. And then the one outside.
The one outside is an original Snerd figure from when they were first built. I wish I could tell you how many of them there are, but I don't know. I'll have to ask.
There can't be that many, though.
No, not at all. But he's been completely restored and now on site here. Wow. And then he'll be joined over the next couple years by many more.
Oh, so this is like the blueprint of what's coming?
Right. We have room out there for 5 more giants. He's one. We'll be getting a Viking giant. The Viking giants were originally built to advertise Viking Carpet Company, okay? And then there's a cowboy. Phillips 66 gasoline ran a marketing campaign, best gasoline in the West, or the gasoline that won the West, something like that.
Fits with the cowboy motif.
Fits with the cowboy thing. This is an original Bunyan, Paul Bunyan figure. Like I said earlier, that's the first kind of giant that was ever made by International Fiberglass. We'll get one of those. And then I believe we're very close to getting another really rare giant, an Indian chief. Okay.
He again, just kind of like the Snerd. He looks very unique, very different
distinct.
From the rest of them.
Yes, he's the only one. I don't know of these ever being turned into anything else. They were always the Indian chief. giant.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's going to be quite a collection.
Plenty of reasons to come back to see it, right?
Yes.
Once they're out here. That's
Yes,
exciting.
absolutely. Yeah.
Now, the last one I wanted to ask you about.
Yes.
I've noticed we're talking about a lot of guys here. And yet we do have this lovely lady.
Yes.
Her head hanging up here.
Yeah.
What is the story behind her? Is she the only female muffler?
She is the
woman?
only female mold that was made. Are you familiar with Uniroyal Tires?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay, Uniroyal Tire Company commissioned International Fiberglass. They wanted to be different. Well, nobody had a female giant. So
There you go.
perfect marketing idea. They developed this Uniroyal Tire Gal giant. And my favorite story is they put them all across the country. I grew up near Peoria, Illinois, and every Sunday as a child, we would visit my grandparents, drive to the other side of Peoria to visit my aunts and uncles, and as we drove down Adams Street, we passed the Uniroyal Tire Gal that was there. And their claim to fame was, every summer, she was in a bikini, and then when the weather turned colder in the winter, they'd put her in a skirt and blouse. So every
So
summer
she's
for
looking
20
good every
years.
season.
Yes, yeah. She would have her outfits changed. And she's still there. She's still in Peoria.
We might have to stop by and see.
Oh,
her.
you should, because there aren't many of them around either, the originals. And-
Wow, so they're pretty rare now.
Oh, they're very rare. Yes.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that. And she's gorgeous here with everybody
Oh,
else.
yes. Yes, we're so glad to have one of those heads. And that is actually a new head. The mold still exists
Okay.
for her, and Mark Klein out in Virginia has it, so we commissioned a head be made so we could have that on display.
Now, does he make any new molds, or is he just doing them off of all the originals?
You know what they do? If they need a piece that they don't have a mold for, but they have an original piece,
Yeah.
they will create a mold out of the original piece. They,
Okay.
they can cover it and pour plaster of Paris or whatever, however they do it, and then peel that all off, and they'll come up with a new
So
mold.
it's just as good as having an original.
Yeah.
You're still getting
Well,
that.
no, nothing's as good as having an original thing.
So
you know
close.
that. You know that. But yeah, they can bring it back to life, if you will.
At least so we can kind of see what it would have been
Exactly.
similar to back then.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, is there anything else you'd like to tell everybody about this awesome place?
Well, we're just so thrilled to have the opportunity to present it to the Route 66 public. And once we get all 6 giants on site here, and we still have our Bunyan giant across the street, we'll be the single largest concentration of American giants anywhere on Route 66 from Chicago to LA. So that's a
impressive.
Yeah.
Now, I believe the Centennial is coming up, right? 2026 for Route 66?
Yes,
You
it
guys
is.
doing anything special for that?
Oh, many things. I actually have the pleasure of sitting on the U.S. Route 66 Centennial Commission
Wow.
that's charged with planning events all across the country. And yeah, there's a lot coming.
Well, you know what? I'm going to hold you to that, and I'm going to be here in 2026.
Oh,
I can't
excellent.
wait to see it, all right?
Excellent. David, thank you again for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you so much
Appreciate
for having
it.
us. And
My pleasure.
this place is amazing, and I can't wait to see more giants.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, we couldn't end an episode about Muffler Men on Route 66 without visiting perhaps the most famous muffler man in the world, the Gemini Giant. Well, that's all the time we have for today, adventurers. If you enjoyed this, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and comment below where you think we should go next. It really helps us out. And if you'd like to give us some extra support, we have a link below to our Patreon. You can join up there and get awesome things such as a postcard in the mail every single month and access to some bonus episodes. My name is David, and this has been Abnormal Voyages. Thanks for tagging along. We'll see you next time.